Health products, the only 100% natural organic supplement for blood sugar control. And we say a warm good morning to Dr. Wendy Christien, health coach and wellness practitioner at Integrated Health Solution. I'm sitting here with itchy eyes and itchy skin, and this seems like a very timely message. Dr. Wendy, good morning. Hope you're well.
Good morning, Brad. Yes, it is. It is a time of the year where we have all these itchies and sniffies.
Yeah, today we're talking about managing seasonal allergies and hay fever. So let's start right here. What causes us to develop these allergies that leads to the itchy eyes and the sneezing and the runny nose?
So it's usually an immune response, and the immune system overreacts to substances that are normally harmless. So things like pollen and dust or animal hair, pet dander, we live with those all the time, and our bodies should be able to cope with exposure to those. But when our immune systems overreact, those trigger a response of histamine in the body and other chemicals, obviously, as well, that trigger these symptoms.
Hmm.
And so we land up with a very unpleasant sneezing, teary eyes, itchiness, and all of those kind of things, excess mucus.
Yeah, I have a friend when it gets to this time of year, he gets itchy on his palate, on the top of inside of his mouth.
Mm. Yeah, it's a dreadful feeling. Some people itch down the sides of their mouths, at the back of their throats, and it's just an itch that you can't get to. It's horribly, horribly itchy.
Yeah, how unusual. So Dr. Wendy, what is the most widespread form of allergy?
So hay fever or allergic rhinitis,
Mm.
that's its medical name is the allergic rhinitis, but hay fever, yeah, would be the one that's the most widespread.
So it's rearing its head now. Why now?
Because the pollen count is really high now. So as the beautiful flowers that we have up the West Coast and all around in our gardens have very high levels of pollen at the moment. And spring and summer is generally when we have the highest. And then in Cape Town, we have the wind,
Mm.
which helps to just swish it around a little bit more. So so we have a lot more exposure, even if we're not, even if you live in a flat or if
Mm.
you don't live in an area where there is a garden.
Yeah, but it can also be all year round because there might be things you mentioned, pet dander when we started. I mean, that happens all the time. So I guess some people might experience some allergic reactions and like this all year round.
They absolutely can. Things like mold. So in the winter months when the mold is quite prevalent, but even mold spores blowing off the trees and the vegetation as well.
Mm.
Dust mites, which are very common in our homes, and then animal hair or pet dander.
So, what are some of the typical symptoms of these allergies that we're speaking about this morning?
So our sneezing and nasal congestion. So some people experience sinus congestion, or they can have a very runny nose. You can have itchy, watery eyes, or your eyes get very red. Fatigue and
Mm.
difficulty concentrating. So it can create like a bit of a brain fogginess. And it can affect our sleep because, some people, their noses block up at nighttime, so they can't sleep well, or they're sneezing, or they're just not feeling well. So it can affect sleep.
Yeah. From my own experience, years ago, I suffered terribly. It almost always led to some kind of sinus issue or sinus infection. But as the years have gone by, I've actually got better and better. Does one develop some kind of a, I don't know, tolerance to it? Is that such a thing possible? Because I still struggle a little bit, but nowhere near where, let's say, 5 or 6 years ago.
Yes, so it can work both ways. So some people will say they've never suffered with allergies and all of a sudden they start suffering.
Mm.
And then other people will have been more allergic and then they will have less of a reaction. So it's the immune system that becomes desensitized. So if in a case like yours where it's not so bad anymore, your immune system is strengthened, maybe there's other things that are going on in your life that have helped,
Mm.
maybe a better diet, maybe less, managing stress better. All of those kind of things can certainly contribute to how the immune system is able to respond.
Mm.
And the same with people who all of a sudden out of nowhere start developing allergies.
Mm.
It could be a breakdown in the immune system over a period of time. It's never really all of a sudden. It's usually gradual, and then there'll be something that becomes the tipping point.
Mm. Here we are talking, though, about seasonal allergies and hay fever specifically, right? Somebody might say, oh, but I've got a serious allergy, of whatever, that if I consume this food or this happened to me, I might go into anaphylactic shock. So we're definitely treating the very conversation very differently here, talking mostly about seasonal allergies, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. So let's ask, what are some of the best ways to manage it? I mean, I can't never go outside, and I I don't know, how do I deal with the southeast? I choose to live in Cape Town, so I mean these things are happening. But what are some good ways to manage hay fever and allergies?
Okay, I'm just going to backpedal a little onto
Okay.
your previous comment. So there are people, and again, the seasonal allergies and things that will have a more severe allergic reaction to allergens, to pollens, to dusts, maybe to perfumes, chemicals. And that is a completely different, although it can be triggered by the same things, it is a completely different immune response that they would be having.
Uh-huh.
And so that would be treated slightly differently. So they would maybe be unable to go outside when it's windy because that's going to maybe trigger an anaphylactic reaction. They might have a severe asthma attack or struggle to breathe. So there are individuals that struggle to that degree with certain allergens, environmental allergens. But we're talking here about the average person who isn't, who just is struggling with seasonal allergies. And we'll cover that. You asked me what's the best way to manage this. So obviously reducing our exposure as far as possible. If you are somebody who has one of these really severe reactions, firstly, I would suggest seeking medical attention there or seeing a practitioner that will be able to help you. But then you want to maybe avoid being outdoors when it's really windy. You can also get these HEPA filters that you can have at home, in your home, to clear the air. And just to know your body. I think that's the most important thing, is how does your body respond? Because we each respond differently. If you are more allergic, you might want to be washing your hair after you've been out to see the flowers. You might want to wear a mask or a scarf around your face so that you're not exposed to that much, that it's not coming in through your nose and mouth as much, because then that's going to help avoid that severe reaction that you get.
Yeah, I just want to add, you mentioned the HEPA filter. We use one at home. It works exceptionally well. My son, allergic after the tests, and we'll chat about those tests a bit later on, but finding that he had a dust allergy and doing the necessary things like getting a protector over the mattress and pillows and all of those things. Sometimes we've got to do what we've got to do, Wendy, just to be able to get around and navigate this. And then with a HEPA filter in his room, I mean, that's almost completely solved the situation.
Yeah. Yeah, it really can make a massive difference, because also what happens often is if you start with an allergy and that is left untreated, that can start triggering sort of a secondary, either bacterial or bacterial infection. So, it might land up, you've got a bit of an allergy in your nose and now it becomes a sinus infection and now you've got a bacteria as well.
Yeah.
So it's really about managing it at the starting point so that it doesn't become something more serious.
Yes, we're obviously going to turn this into a multi-part series. There's a lot to get through, but just as we wrap up, you mentioned something when I shared my own experience, and you said maybe you made an adjustment in your diet. So if we support our bodies with a healthy diet, we can minimize the effect of seasonal allergies. That's interesting.
We absolutely can. So a healthy diet, as you know, we've spoken about this quite a lot, helps to reduce the inflammation in our bodies. It also gives our bodies all the antioxidants, the nutrients, especially things like vitamin C, omega-3, quercetin. All of the things that help to reduce inflammation in our body will be in a healthy diet. And so if we can follow that and we're not adding fuel to the fire and we're not eating foods that are potentially triggering allergies, because there's also foods that will make us respond more differently to allergens. Following a low histamine diet can also be helpful, especially during the seasonal flares. And then there is medication available for severe symptoms if need be.
Yeah, I think next week we'll pick up some natural options to be able to combat these seasonal allergies and hay fever. And I'm sure many people listening this morning are busy saying, you bring it, Dr. Wendy. We need as much help as we can get. not everybody's keen on taking medicine after medicine. And if there's a natural way of doing this, we'd love to hear all about it. We'll tackle that next week. Thank you so much for the excellent and eloquent way you share with us every single Thursday. We love that. Thanks so much for your time, and we'll catch up again in 7 days' time. Take care, and massive thanks to you.